Hello.
And welcome to We're Not Blowing Hot Air, powered by Oxygen Plus. I'm Scott.
And I'm Lauren.
And we're here to help elevate your IQ on wellness and business stuff that's sometimes misunderstood.
Oh, like recreational oxygen?
Yes.
Let's get smarter with this week's guest of We're Not Blowing Hot Air. Happy holidays!
Happy holidays from us here at We're Not Blowing Hot Air. Happy holidays, Lauren.
Merry Christmas, Scott. It's
Thank
the
you.
most wonderful time of the year.
It
And
is.
here we are in the O Plus studio. We have a beautiful holiday spirit and festivals, presents and lights and wreaths all
Yes.
around us.
Yes. It's such a great time of year.
It's the most wonderful,
Yes.
as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And how ready are you?
We're pretty ready. We started our shopping early this year. We knew we had to, so we did, and I think we're just about done. What about you?
Well, we really haven't done a lot of shopping in my family. We're more, do we need travel?
Okay. Interesting. Okay,
Is it
so
ringing a bell for you too?
it is, yeah. So we started shopping early. You're doing some travel.
Mhm.
It's very interesting. Back on episode 2,
Way back in August.
we talked with Chris Parsons,
The
who,
e-commerce king of Canada.
yeah, and he talked about those two exact things.
I can't even believe it. I think we should roll the footage just to make sure that's
Yeah.
what he said. Should we do that?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay.
If you start connecting those dots, you start to see the patterns of a shortage of goods. And I mean, it really takes common sense too, right? Like, think about 18 months of COVID. What's the impact and trickle down effect in all cross sectors of manufacturing and building products? And now we're gonna be a little bit slow to the market with these things, I think, anyways. And I mean, that'll be my advice: is shop early, or you're going to have to find another way to have, maybe it's not product, maybe it's trips, because the market's about open back up and everyone's going to take some vacation around Christmas time, and that's their present to each other.
We were so right.
Uh-huh.
We were not blowing hot air. How incredible
That's true.
is that?
That's true. I think it's amazing that Chris was able to see that. That just shows his expertise.
Yeah.
Because
now supply chain shortage. That is a
that's how you
Christmas twister
Yeah.
of the tongue. That did happen, and I think it was like late October is when the news media really picked up on that.
Yeah. So they were a little late to the game. I
Mhm.
mean, in comparison to Chris's predictions. So
Right.
I personally, I felt a little bit lucky to have been able to talk with him and kind of gain that insight.
He told you what's up.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's good. I mean, he did make some other predictions.
He did.
Let's take a look at that one and see how right he was or we were on that.
We can include ourselves. Yeah.
Roll that clip.
Let's do it.
If products are slow to arrive and they're not going to come in until, some of them might not even make shelf until December, January. If they get into December, they're right on time. So they'll be great for dads who are last minute shoppers. But from a mom who's looking, if it's not in the first, couple of weeks of November, I think everyone gets to right after we have Remembrance Day here on November 11th, and then everybody gets into Christmas. But it's that kind of November to December timeframe. If people are not seeing the goods they want, they're going to be in trouble. And I really think that's going to be a reality, that stuff is coming. It's going to come in January. So I think what you're going to see, and no one's going to call it out to the customer and say, this is what's happening. But I think what will happen is there will be events that retailers make up. And what I mean by that is they'll do a holiday promotion in October, or they'll now all of a sudden miss Christmas, and then, a think tank will get together and they'll launch a Christmas in January, right? Because they now have the goods. So I think retailers are going to have to be creative.
Nailed it.
Nailed that one too. Yeah.
Half of it. Half's TBD.
Half of it. No, that's true. When he was talking about January, we're not in January yet, so we'll see what happens. But in terms of, shortages of product on the shelves now, yeah, he nailed it.
Well, I hope maybe Santa could bridge the gap.
That's true.
Because I don't know if his elves are reporting inventory shortages or demand. I mean,
Mhm.
who knows if they're plugged into that?
I mean, I haven't
Demand-
read anything about predictions in terms of, what Santa might be supplying here. So
Okay.
hopefully he can fill that gap.
Yeah. Wha-
And but we're gonna find out.
We
Is
could
where I'm
ask
getting with
him.
this. We're gonna find out. We can ask him.
Yeah. Will Christmas be ruined this year because of supply chain shortage?
Right.
Or will he and his elves and reindeer save the day?
Yeah, exactly. Let's find out.
Well, let's not wait another merry moment. And let's get into it with the real Santa Claus.
Yes,
Who
the
goes-
real Santa Claus, a.k.a. Santa Ed Taylor. And he's our guest today on this episode. And I could not be more excited to talk with Santa. I think this is going to be so much fun.
On episode 9 of We're Not Blowing Hot Air, the real Santa Claus, who goes by Ed Taylor or Santa Ed, drops into the studio from the North Pole to spread his holiday cheer and share the real deal about being Santa Claus. A jolly guy with a big heart for kids of all ages, Santa Ed has more than 1 billion television and social media views as Santa Claus. Seen on Jimmy Kimmel Live and all the holiday commercials where Santa actually looks like Santa, he's known as the greatest Santa in the history of Santas and has me convinced he exists. Available virtually or in person, Santa Ed is one gift that should be on everybody's Christmas wish list. Spark up your holiday spirit with songs and Secret Santa scooties about elves and more, all on this special holiday episode of We're Not Blowing Hot Air.
Santa Ed, welcome to the podcast.
Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry
Merry
Christmas to you.
Santa Claus!
How fun. So, Santa Ed, a.k.a. Ed Taylor, you're a real bearded Santa Claus located in Hollywood, California, and also available to everyone worldwide via virtual visits. As a Santa Claus portrayal artist, you consider yourself an avatar of kindness and goodness, encouraging kids to keep the Christmas spirit all year long. The Santa Claus of more than 17 commercials, including Chrysler, Kohl's, Ready Whip, Band-Aid, and Overstock.com. You've spread the Christmas spirit on several TV shows, including MTV's Ridiculousness, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Doctors, Nickelodeon, and The Today Show. Arguably the most sought-after Santa of all time. You also make the time to train thousands of Santas to be just like you through the worldwide Santa Claus network. How incredible is that?
Well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I'm the most sought after anything or how much I'm training people to be just like me. I'm training them to be the best them they can be, I think. But
That's wonderful and very humble of you. Well, let's dive in and just kind of find out how you got your start portraying Santa Claus. How did you get there?
yeah, it's an interesting question because I certainly did not start out to portray Santa Claus at all. What really happened was a friend of mine who was an active volunteer in our community of Ashland, Oregon, a fellow by the name of Gordon Rhoda, was my best friend, and we did everything together. Anyway, he volunteered himself to be Santa at a local little fundraiser. And he came down sick, and he called me and said, "Hey, can you fill in for me?" And it was more like, "Hey, could you fill?" I could hardly hear his voice. He was, and anyway, it was like, oh, seriously, being Santa Claus, that thought had never, ever entered my mind. But I rather reluctantly agreed to step in.
And did you have a beard at that time?
I had a small beard, very trim beard.
Okay.
And they had rented a suit and all that sort of thing. So I picked it up and the next day put it on and went into the venue, which was it was a hotel lobby in Ashland, Oregon. And there were all these people waiting for Santa. And instantly, the arms go out, everybody's smiling and wants to give Santa a hug. And I had no idea what to expect, but instantly I'm like, hey, this is great. I'm ho, ho, hoing and giving everybody hugs and just loved it. I mean, instantly just fell in love with this. I thought this is the greatest thing ever. And at the end of the time, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever it was, my wife had come to pick me up. And I jumped in the car and said, which happened to be, by the way, a big red Expedition, just coincidentally. But I told her, I said, I just love this. I'll volunteer to do this everywhere that will have me. So I spent the next 7 years as a volunteer Santa all over Southern Oregon in parades and fundraisers for the hospital, and even a visit for Make-A-Wish Foundation and the homeless shelter, and just everybody that would have Santa. And again, and I just fell in love with it and continue to be in love with it to this day.
Did you have a profession at the time?
Yeah, I did. I've been a small business owner all my adult life, really. I had a marketing agency, a little company called the Internet Marketing Group, and I was a professional speaker. I went around the country speaking on internet marketing to small business groups, across the U.S. and Canada, and occasionally overseas.
And you also have a hobby. You had a hobby. Were you not a toy maker?
The toy maker. Yes, indeed. That is.
I mean, coincidence.
That was the beginning. That was that. Then that has been a persistent element. In fact,
listeners, we have a toy. It's a wooden.
It's a little wooden airplane. Prop turn, wheels turn.
Single prop.
Indeed.
Yeah. Wow.
Very
Did
cool.
you make that, Santa Claus?
I did. Now, today, of course, everything has shifted, right? The whole workshop is much more automated, and we even, I don't know if I should say this, but we even do some deals with some outside manufacturers these days. Some of the kids see things that they recognize that maybe they saw in the store. Wonder, did Santa make it just like that? Some of it we do, some of it we actually, but they call it outsourcing. So I do the delivery, but some of the others do the making.
And I'm sure you have some licensing deals, and
we do. We have to. Everything has changed so much over the years. So yeah.
Sure. Everything evolves. Everything it has to, right?
Well, how great. So you came from you were a natural, you could say, about being with other people and making them smile and happy. And you have a trade skill that seemed to fit the role of playing Santa. Now, but let's go back even further before that first time you went into the hotel and had your first Santa experience. What was it like growing up for you as a young boy? And specifically, what was Christmas like for you?
Christmas was always a ton of fun. I remember, and I suppose it is for every child, right? And hopefully all adults too. But I just remember in our home, my mom was just meticulous in the early days with the people might not even remember this, but the tinsel that you put on the trees, and at that time it was like tin tinsel, and it was just beautiful. She would, the family would go out and select the tree, and we'd bring it home, and it was kind of just like the movies. You'd tie them on the top of your car. We didn't have a truck or anything like that. I was in Southern California at the time, and so the whole magic around the holidays, and I remember to this day seeing the bells and the lights that would go up on all the street posts and all the decorations that would go up as a community. It was just magical. And then the of course the gifts on Christmas morning. We had a family celebration on Christmas Eve where we'd have grandma and grandpa and the uncles, and other people coming to the house, and then we'd all exchange gifts amongst the family. And then Christmas morning, we'd wake up and find the gifts, of course, that Santa delivered. And I just loved it. It was just like out of a TV show, I think.
Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah. Well, Lauren has told me that, she enjoyed having her Jewish godparents, involved in Christmas, and because it was inclusive, and they brought a lot of presents, right? So
That's great.
And for me as a kid, for Christmas celebrations, I loved being with like my mom's side of our extended family. there was just so many people, and there was just food, and it was everybody came together, and it was just loud, and kids running around and everything, and it was just so happy. Everybody was just happy and celebrating. What do you most cherish about Christmases from the past?
I think it's exactly what you just said. It's those memories of the family, and yeah, I can kind of remember some of the actual gifts that I received. I know I had a pogo stick one year, and that was fun. And we had hula hoops, that was fun.
Yeah.
But it's what you really think about, well, at least what I really connect with at this point in life, looking back, it was the gathering, seeing the family that you hadn't seen for a long time. The food, of course, was amazing. I mean, that was always a big part. I mean, it was things that we would only have once a year. It was just that those Christmas special items, and so yeah, it really did impact. And of course, you don't know it at the time, right? At least I didn't. Just going through life, Christmas, fun, and then it's on to the next thing, right? And as I got older, I grew up in Southern California. I'd go surfing on Christmas morning, and became a little tradition of mine, just to go down to the beach. A little cold, but go out and catch a few waves in the morning.
Santa surfs.
Yeah, surfing Santa.
I love
Surfing
it.
Santa, that's right. But it's that family gathering, I think, that really is the most meaningful and the most impactful over the course of a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, speaking of impact, I mean, you're also making an impact, as with what you do day to day, and it sounds like you're doing really like what you're meant to do, or something that's kind of a calling for you, and so share Christmas joy with, at special events with nonprofits. You do in person and virtual visits. Can you share a little bit about that impact that you're able to make via those various things that you're doing?
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And that was one of the things that was really interesting for me when I transitioned from this kind of volunteer Santa, just an act of community service. And at some point, I kind of crossed over to become a paid Santa, still doing a lot of volunteer work, but I started accepting payment for some of my appearances. And it wasn't about me being Santa; it was about bringing that Christmas spirit into people's lives. That smile that people give you when they look at you. They just look and they smile, and that it's triggering them back to these days of goodness and kindness and thoughtfulness and generosity in their own lives. And I love that. And I love being that person that people see, in a grocery store or driving down the street, and they look over and they see me and they smile, and oftentimes they'll wave or something like that, or take a picture. And it just really means a lot to me to think that, okay, I know it's a small thing, but it's something that I can do and kind of maybe bring a little bit of light into some people's lives. So yeah, my experience has changed a little bit in early 2020, where it was an every time occurrence if I would go to Costco or a grocery store or something, where people would come over and want to give Santa a hug or get a selfie together or have me make a video for somebody in their family. It happened. I mean, not occasionally, it happened every time. I mean, every time I'd go anywhere, that was the experience for me, which I loved. And that stopped, in the spring of 2020. And it was, it was missed, I guess, is the best way for me to say it. It was like, people would still smile and look, but everybody was so guarded.
Even
right?
with you as Santa?
Huh?
Even to you as Santa?
Yeah, nobody wanted to
Wow.
break that 6-foot barrier, and it was weird, and it was it was a little saddening, it caused me to be, wishful of the old days, when that wasn't the case, and now to at this point in time, it's more, people are a little more free. They seem like they're talking more, smiling more, getting some pictures with the kids, but still very guarded, and probably rightfully so, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely a different experience being me than it was in 2019 and before.
Well, and perhaps with your marketing skills, it seems that you've surely helped bridge that gap between offline and online. You've had more than 1 billion views between all the videos and social media posts that you've done to reach people. That's got to be amazing. And do you want to talk a little bit more about how you offer that to people, kids?
Well, yeah. So what happened last year in 2019 or 2020 rather, was that, I felt really compelled when I recognized in the spring that things were going to be different at Christmas time, that we weren't going to be doing what we had always done as Santa, and families weren't going to be able to visit Santa at the mall and all the other places. So I kind of discovered every way that I could to extend my reach, and not only my reach personally as Santa, but in our worldwide Santa Claus network, we have over 4,000 members, and I wanted to do everything I could to teach them to use technology so that we could still spread the Christmas spirit and do this thing that we love doing, portraying Santa Claus and keeping that Christmas spirit alive, but to do it virtually, and so many of us were able to use Zoom and other platforms to have incredibly fun experiences with families and companies. I did a tree lighting ceremony for a university, and appearances for a couple of U.S. Embassies around the world, all virtually. And I fell in love, even more in love with being Santa, but being Santa virtually was just amazing. I received dozens and dozens of emails from parents saying, "This is our new tradition. We love this. This is so neat." So yeah, I do feel like we were able to, me personally, I was able to connect with nearly 600 different people or families and organizations and groups and so on. And as a community of Clauses worldwide, we were able to do tens of thousands of virtual visits, which was really neat.
So now you're a big time Santa Claus, right? You're on all these TV shows, commercials, a famous actor and a symbol of Christmas, right? You've also trained more than 4,000 Santas through the worldwide Santa Claus network. Tell us about the training program and also why you decided to create competition for yourself.
Yeah, right. That's my mission from day one, when I decided to become Santa in a more year-round way and actually being compensated financially for it and that sort of thing. The first note that I made to myself is, how do I maximize the impact of the Christmas spirit? What can I do to maximize the impact of the Christmas spirit? And all these things started popping off, and it's like, oh, I can try to be on television shows and do it that way. And then I looked at the community of Santas, and I thought, wow, there's so many ways that together we could multiply our impact. And so, and I'd been a longtime trainer and teacher, educator, that sort of thing. So it was just a natural step for me to reach out to people in the Santa community and say, hey, do you want to work on ways to increase your impact as Santa? And a lot of people put their hands up and said, and it's so many people in our community are just like me. They stumbled into portraying Santa for the first time, roped into volunteering for a church function or some other community event, and they just discovered they loved it. And then after a while, it's like, okay, how do I do more of this? And oftentimes people retire and they finally have more time, and so the network training, I didn't ever think of it as training my competition. Although I do have to say that one of our members, on his very first audition for a television commercial, he and I both auditioned and he booked it. And he had never dreamed of doing anything like that before, and until he came into the network. So, but I don't begrudge any of that. I welcome everybody to do all of this stuff, and there's plenty enough of everything to go around. And to me, it's much bigger mission than any one of us. It's like, let's just go out and make people smile and try to bring some positive impact to our communities. And I think we're doing that.
That's amazing. How do you teach Santas to perfect their ho ho ho?
That's a great question, actually, because when people hire Santas, one of the most common things that they ask for is someone who portrays Santa authentically. And the first example they use is, I don't want somebody that just says ho 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 all the time. I want it to be more real, more authentic. And so we do spend time understanding that the ho ho ho, that is a laugh, right? It's part of Santa being jolly. And
Oh.
it's not a staccato ho ho ho. And
No,
so
okay,
we
that was
work
wrong, what you just did? That was a bad
That
Santa?
was not a good ho ho
ho
ho.
ho ho.
Oh, so okay, so it's more flowy, like there's more diaphragmatic, breathing? Do you teach breathing when you do the ho, ho, ho?
Yeah, it's just more natural, like a laugh, I think. And you want it to be
Is that
and you
good?
want it to be in the right place, right? So
Oh.
often, when we're coming up into a room, we might just walk in, ho, 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 like, oh, okay, that's okay. But if we come at it and say, oh, I'm so glad to see you all, it's a more natural flow, I think.
Okay.
So much
Oh,
better.
Yep,
Yeah,
you guys were gonna put suits on you two.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
yeah.
We're getting the training right now. This
like,
is exciting.
but like when those, like, when a clown walks in and they're all clowny,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
straight
right.
away without like getting to know you or like letting them know they're not gonna like murder you.
Right.
It's the same thing. You don't want to Santa ho ho hoing at you straight away. Like come into the room and then do the natural ho ho ho.
Right, I think that's the
Yeah.
idea. Be
That's
be
good.
authentic with it.
Yeah.
What other important lessons do you teach? I mean, you teach the authenticity, the placement of the ho ho ho. What are the other important lessons? Is it do you teach how to deal with people who don't really know if they believe in Santa? Is it kids? Is it what are some of the other things that you teach?
We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of sessions, right? On every topic under the sun, storytelling, working with families with special needs, working with adults and children separately with special needs. The beard care and maintenance is an important topic. There are so many of those things, but the next probably most common thing that I hear from people who are bringing Santas into their organization or even into a home party or something like that is the Santa looking grumpy, I guess is the best way to say it. And it's fairly easy for somebody who is real bearded and a little older and that sort of thing, for their mustache to droop a little and maybe be down over their lip, and so when you just look at them, they might not seem jolly. And so part of learning, I think, to portray Santa in an extraordinary way is to remember to smile and to make that smile big and visible. And we groom our mustaches up a little bit to have that, that more, that happier kind of a look. So it's just understanding that Santa Claus is a jolly, happy old soul, right? And that's what we want to portray, and that's what people want to see in Santa most of the time. And we have to remember that. And sometimes our default might be something different. And I tell Santas all the time that the best part of portraying Santa is what you become in the process. It's about you becoming more Santa-like every day of your life, and everybody benefits. I mean, your family likes you more, people, strangers like you more. Santa is a pretty good guy, right?
Yeah.
So
I've been told I have a resting mean face. I would have a lot of work to do if I was going to be a
right.
Santa.
So we have to get that default, and once you reset some of your defaults to a more jolly demeanor, your world changes. I mean, and I think your outlook changes because people view you differently. It's hard to be grumpy if everywhere you go people smile at you, right? So
Yeah.
there's a bit of self-serving aspect of this, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think you're the real Santa. And I want to know about the North Pole and what's going on up there. And I'm curious. I remember writing letters when I was a kid, but is that what kids are doing now, or are they texting you? Do they have an email address?
Yeah.
How do they get a hold of you
You
now?
know, it comes in all ways these days. You know, we do still get a lot of letters, lots and lots of letters. More of them that are printed these days. Many of them that have photos actually right on the on the document. So I don't know if
Oh,
mom must be helping them with some of that. And some are just handwritten. I mean, so we still get a fair number of those for sure. But the wishes that come in via text message, we get millions of those as well. We're getting a lot
wow.
of the text messages, and very often there'll be pictures. You know, hey Santa, how about you know, and you'll see several little photos that they send. So yeah, the technology is changing dramatically, and I have to tell you that it's made our lives easier in a lot of ways up here. Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
bet. I bet it has. Well, if there's anything that maybe has made it a little more difficult, earlier Lauren and I were talking about supply chain issues, right? I
Mhm.
Yes,
mean, are
yes.
you experiencing any of that? Like, how's the morale in the workshop right now? Do
Yeah,
you
well, morale is good. It's always good. I mean,
Okay, great,
you can't beat
good,
the help, right? I mean,
good.
a lot of people know our helpers up here, the elves, and they are amazing, just absolutely amazing. So that part is good, but that doesn't mean that we're unaffected by some of the other supply chain kinds of issues. So I think we're good. But we always every year get a lot of last minute requests. Hard to know exactly what's going to line up where, but I think that we're covered on all aspects of that. But you know, get your wishes in early. That's, you know, like everybody says, get everything done early. It's a good idea, you know, especially this year.
So it sounds like the elves have been starting early. And I'm curious, what is their favorite toy to make this year? And what's your favorite toy that you're going to give?
I know the making of like stuffed animals, the elves love that. I mean, you know, as it's old fashioned, I know, and it's, you know, like a lot of these people now, they want tech games and different things like that, and those are very popular. And so are a lot of the dolls and the other plastic kind of toys. But the elves, I don't know if you've ever stuffed like a teddy bear or seen how that's done, but that's a fun
No.
process. So that's probably the most popular thing to do
Okay.
up here as far as working in the workshop. As far as me, what would I like for Christmas? Is that what
Oh,
you
no,
asked?
no. What would
Yeah.
you like to give of
Oh, what would I
all
like
the
to give?
toys in the workshop?
Well,
What
it
do you
all
think?
depends on the age, I suppose, as to what, because what I'm doing is when I'm trying to give gifts, I'm trying to anticipate, or and oftentimes that people let me know what it is they want. I want to put a smile on their face. I want them to be happy. So I don't know that I have a favorite thing to deliver as long as it's something that people like. Sometimes, and in fact, very often, I'll deliver a surprise, something that wasn't on somebody's list,
Oh,
and hope that
yes.
Oh.
yeah, hoping that that surprises them and that they enjoy that. But
Okay.
yeah,
So,
a lot of it is becoming technology these days.
Very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, a lot
Very
of people
cool.
wanting different games that they can play on with, you know, different
Yeah,
tablets and that sort of thing. And some of those are very educational as well. So yeah, so we
they
like
are.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, they are. No, that's great.
yeah,
Okay, so speaking, and kids are great with technology, and
yes,
they're also very in tune with, like, things that are trends, big topics sometimes, because does get talked about. And then, so like one of those is the environment. One of
yes,
those
yeah,
is how can we help our earth, right?
right.
And schools are really, trying to make that a message as well, and which is great. So what are your thoughts on global warming? Are you seeing any effects up in the North Pole? Are
Yeah.
are, are the reindeer seeing any effects? Like, what are you
Oh,
guys seeing up there?
Yeah, well, so it's important to remember that where we are, one, it's magical. So
Mhm.
we're kind of protected
okay.
from some aspects of this, but the ice sheets are thinning. I mean, there's no question about that. Again, we are not directly impacted here at the pole and at our workshop and in our village. But and so our reindeer, none of that, nothing like that is affected. But at the same time, there is an awareness in a greater sense that there is a shift in climate, and things are warming a little bit, and that the melting is a little greater than it has been. So we do want to be conscientious of, and be environmentally conscious about everything that we do at every age. And I definitely try to encourage both the children and adults to be aware of that.
Well, we love that. And
Yeah.
at Oxygen Plus, we're very sustainable minded. Our products are also 100% recyclable after use. So I think that's something that we care about a lot at our company. We care about making this world better than we have it. And I am curious, given that, do you think Oxygen Plus would make an incredible stocking stuffer?
You know,
And-
I'm thinking about that. Yeah, I'm thinking about that. The Biggie bottle, right?
Yeah, the O Plus Biggie. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
fill up a big stock. And I have seen stockings getting bigger lately. It seems that they get larger and larger, which
Oh yeah.
seems a
Yeah.
little greedy, but on
Yeah.
our part, not yours, on our part.
Yeah. There's almost just as much that goes into the stockings now as under
Yeah.
the tree.
You have to buy like $10 presents to fit in, which the
Right.
Biggie is just about that price point.
Right.
Well, that's awesome. I thank you for endorsing it.
Oh,
Santa
I love
Claus.
it. No, I think it's a great idea, and I love what you guys are doing as a company. And it's a great, it's a great thing. Oxygen, right? I mean, it's fairly important to us, right?
I'm sure you
Yeah.
would probably need it when you're going down the chimney with all that soot. You could,
Right.
have a few puffs
Yeah.
and just really
Yeah.
help you recover.
Right.
Have you considered bringing some with you on Christmas Eve? When you're out there and
Well,
trying to get that all done.
Maybe he's always done it,
Maybe-
Scott. I
may-
mean,
maybe
we've been
that's
around
true.
since
Maybe that's true.
2005.
Yeah, yes, we actually need to probably look at partnering up a little bit more on some of this stuff. But I do like it, and we have made deliveries, and I'm sure it'll probably be more of them this year, especially.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Music
yeah.
to my merry ears.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for doing what you do with that. I
Oh,
mean, it's
no,
helpful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Santa. Santa's thanking me. I love it.
That's funny.
Well, Scott and I would like to get in the nitty gritty of being naughty and nice. And we have
Yes.
some even more burning Christmas questions that we'd love to ask. Ready?
Sure.
You
Sure.
ready?
You bet.
Have you ever really wanted to put coal in somebody's stocking?
Now, I've never wanted to put coal
Oh,
in anybody's stocking. I mean, I had to a few times, or I guess I didn't have to, but I chose to. But I don't like it. I would much prefer not putting coal in anybody's stocking. Um, one of the things that people have lost sight of a little bit is, I think, is why I do leave coal. I could leave nothing, right? And I'll tell you, it'd be a whole lot easier. In fact, I have some coal right here,
oh
actually. I think.
wow. Okay.
Um,
Do you use the coal in the fireplace? Because some fireplaces aren't really coal anymore. they're
Right, and
gas
most
or-
aren't. That's what I say. So here's
Yeah.
actually a little piece of coal that
Okay.
somebody's likely to get this year, but
Oh.
it's dirty. I mean, you can see it's still on my fingers every time I touch
Yeah.
it, or
Yeah.
so it's messy. I prefer not to deliver it, but I do, and I started delivering it, of course, as a kind of a metaphor, a reminder for children to have a warm heart. We used to use that phrase a lot more, but there were children who were kind of cold-hearted. They were mean, and they weren't following directions, and so I started giving the coal away. In the very beginning, of course, I added a little note that explained that I wanted them to think about having a warmer heart every time they saw the coal, and to keep it somewhere where they did see it all the time. But today, I think a lot of people don't even know what coal is, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it does it always serves, I hope, for those few kids, and the number of kids who receive it is definitely declining, and that's a good thing. But it does, and hopefully it will serve as a reminder to be more warm-hearted. I know people oftentimes think about the naughty and nice list, or being good and bad, and it's really more about being warm-hearted, being kind and considerate and thoughtful.
Oh,
I
okay.
can do that.
Yeah,
of
that
course.
makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So next question. You're obviously very well traveled. You've seen the world, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine you like to take some vacation or some time off after Christmas.
Yep.
Where are you and Mrs. Claus thinking about flying next? And do you have to worry about getting recognized when you go there?
Oh, good
You
question.
know, that is an excellent question. And very often people assume that we're going to get out of the North Pole and we're going to go to, Hawaii or the Bahamas or some tropical location somewhere. And we've done that, of course, but most often we don't. Most often, especially these days, we will just pick a little town anywhere. We might wind up in San Diego, or it might be Medford, Oregon, or Jacksonville, Florida, or it might be up near Boston. We will, and other places around the world as well. And we just like to go in and spend some time getting to know some locals. And yes, we do get recognized, but the magic happens because they never know, is that the real Santa? So there's always a bit of mystery,
Yeah,
right? There's a lot of people who look like Santa floating around, and the question always is that the real Santa?
Well, hopefully wherever you go, they don't hear this podcast, because they're going to know that
Now they're
we
gonna
got
know.
the actual real Santa, and it is magical. My next question is, and I think about this a lot, have you ever slid down a chimney only to catch a parent putting stuff in a stocking?
I've went down a lot of chimneys over a lot of years, and I've caught all kinds of weird things going on. I'll tell
Oh
you.
no, like what? What's the naughtiest?
Well, the ones that are my favorite is when somebody's still baking cookies. They're baking them late, and all of a sudden they're not expecting me, and I didn't check adequately, and I didn't know they were awake in there. But that usually turns out pretty good, because I'll sit around and visit a little bit, have a little bit of milk and cookies with them.
Wow,
Yeah,
really?
right. Yeah, that's happened. And
My mom wasn't lying to me.
there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's it. Sometimes I've even been caught by families, like even kids that were, but that happens very rarely. But I have occasionally been caught by a child who's actually spotted me, and very often what happens in that case is they will go back to, we have a little bit of Santa magic happening, especially on Christmas Eve. And so they usually go back to sleep and either they don't remember, or they don't know if it was a dream, or if it was
That's
real life. And so that magic kind of helps there. But as far as other people stuffing stockings and things like that, occasionally, I'm pretty good at timing it where everybody's asleep when we make our deliveries.
Well,
Wow,
that's
that's
well done.
that's real skill there.
Yeah.
That really is.
Well,
Okay.
we're quick. We have a lot of homes to deliver to, so we got to get in and out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, right.
I understand.
So you mentioned the kids. I'm a dad, so I like to ask parent questions. I think it happens on every podcast. But
Yes.
what is the most challenging experience that you've had with a kid?
Oh, the most challenging experience I've had with a kid. Well, I'll tell you, the one that just pops to mind was last year. I was going to have a virtual visit, a Zoom call with a mom, dad, and a young child. It was their first baby, and the baby was, I think, 14, 15 months old, something like that, and hadn't had a nap, and just would not, didn't want anything to do with Santa, and just was ready for a nap and not ready to video chat with Santa Claus. But we rescheduled, and we're able to talk to him at a later time. Loved it, and had some first words and that sort of thing. So we just had a great time. And the young ones, ho ho ho, that's what they call me. No, Santa Claus maybe, but ho 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 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah. There's a lot of things. Every once in a while you get the children who are a little bit apprehensive, not so much on the video calls, but in person, where they're like, oh, I don't know, should I, I'm a little frightened, a little tentative of going over and telling him what I want for Christmas, or sitting on my knee or something like that. But that, it's few and far between. And if everybody will just give it a minute and let the child and I talk for a bit, almost always they come around and will visit and tell me what they want for Christmas. And we usually tell them a couple of little stories about the North Pole, or maybe sing a Christmas song or two. But they'll warm up after they give them a little minute.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I've had to do that with
Okay.
some work calls myself. Just reschedule
Yeah.
a cranky, cryy person on the other end, or it could have been me. So, but I want to ask more about the work you. So you've trained a lot of Santas through the
Yeah.
Worldwide Santa Claus Network,
Yes.
and I also know about mall Santas. Probably
Mhm.
some of them do that as well. Correct?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they can make, I mean, 5-digit
Mm.
income in like a matter of weeks, which is pretty phenomenal. So my question is more about mall Santas. How do you train to handle an anxious parent who wants that perfect Christmas photo?
Oh, great question. Yeah. As far as the income, I know a lot of Santas. I know hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Santas who work in malls and retail locations, and the vast majority of them don't make anywhere near that amount of money. But I do know that some of the malls and so forth do place a high value on an extraordinary Santa,
Okay.
and they do pay well. But as far as handling the the parents who want just the right photo or that sort of thing, it's really a matter of Santa being really aware of the camera and having a great photographer there, but giving the camera the attention, knowing that when the child say or maybe the children together, when they both have the right look at the same time, the cameraman will do their job, or the camera person will do their job in snapping that photo. But you don't want Santa to be looking away or trying to get the child's attention, because then as soon as the kids are both looking in the right direction in the right time with the right look, Santa's looking away. So there are some, I guess, tricks or things that we've learned after doing many hundreds of thousands of photos that can help make things easier for everyone. And sometimes it's good for parents to relax a little bit. It'll all work out good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, my next question. So you're a giver. You're always in demand and being hit up for presents, for other people. But so a couple questions. What would you like for Christmas this year? And what's the greatest Christmas gift you've ever received?
Well, let me start with that one. It's probably a little easier. The greatest Christmas gift that I've ever received, and I'll tell you, it wasn't designed to be a gift, but it was the first year that I was paid to portray Santa, and I was at a mall actually working for Microsoft. We were giving free pictures with Santa, courtesy of Microsoft, in a mall in Los Angeles, um, and I was coming out of a break, and a woman, probably in her late 20s or early 30s, stopped me, seeing me walking back towards my set. And she said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I, sure. So we stepped aside of the walkway for a second. And she said, can I ask you what I should do? And I'm thinking, well, this is interesting, and she didn't, I mean, she knew me from her childhood and me being Santa Claus. But anyway, we had this really meaningful conversation about her life choices and her career choices and that sort of thing for a few minutes. And this "what should I do" question that she asked me that year caused me to give a whole lot of thought to what should I do? What should I do at this point in my life and where I am in all aspects of my life? And it's really what caused me to move forward, portraying Santa full time year round and pursuing all the different things that I have. And it was all because of that woman who took me aside and just asked me what she should do. So I thought that was the greatest gift I've ever received as Santa, or
Mm.
as for Christmas, for that matter, because it's really had a wonderful, wonderful impact on my life. And your other question was, what would I like for Christmas?
Yeah.
What and I guess I get a little philosophical on some of this stuff, but what's missing, I think, what we really need is just a greater understanding of each other, greater acceptance. I just, peace and love and all those things are great, but I just think we need to individually say it's okay for us to be different and still love each other anyway, still be kind and considerate and thoughtful to one another. I call the Christmas spirit love expressed, right? It's the action of loving. And and that's what I think is more in need now than ever is simply that. So I would just love to see more and more people move in that direction of being more accepting of others and more understanding of others.
Very well said. Very well
I
said.
was going to ask you, because this is really a time of reflection that we're in, Christmas, the holidays, and then New Year's. I was going to ask you, what is your hope for our world this holiday season? But you've answered it. That
Yeah, I
was
think
my
that's it.
language.
Yeah, no, that really
Acceptance.
is it.
That's awesome.
You know, I tell people, you know, to me, and I heard this from a fairly sharp guy. I thought he was smart anyway, but he said love is a verb, right? In order for love to have any meaning, there has to be action associated with it. You have to do something.
Right.
And that's my view of the Christmas spirit. You know, that what the Christmas spirit is a wonderful thing when you do something. You know, charitable giving is at an all-time high during the holiday season, and I think a reason for that, and there are multiple reasons, no doubt. But it's this time of the year when darkness in the world, especially here in the northern hemisphere, kind of prevails. Right, the days are shorter. There's more cold, more darkness, and the Christmas spirit brings that light and hope to us all. And I think that's what hope. Hope is an important word, and Christmas helps bring that into people's lives, I think.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I love that.
Love it.
Scott has
Yeah.
one more
That's
question,
great.
and then we have a surprise for you.
Yeah. Last question is, what is your favorite Christmas carol?
Favorite Christmas carol. And then you asked me earlier about growing up. And we as a family, whenever we would take a driving vacation, which is the only kind of vacation we ever took, but if we were going anywhere, that was a long drive, we would sing in the car. None of us were great singers, but we liked to sing in the car to pass the time. And the most popular song, I think, in my little family, my brother, sister, and I, and parents, it was "We Three Kings," right?
We Three Kings.
We
Yeah.
Three Kings of Orient.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
So that one was good. But then there's all the other, the more traditional songs, the Rudolph, Jingle Bells.
Jingle Bells.
Yeah.
Jingle
Well,
Bells
guess
is
what?
probably my
Santa,
most
Yeah.
favorite,
Santa?
famous one. And yeah.
You may see little faces popping up around
We have
us.
some
Jingle.
visitors here.
So we are going to give our headsets over to these 4 adorable children who are just dying to meet the real Santa. So here you go. We got to put headsets on you so you can hear him.
Oh,
Right.
my goodness. Look at you all. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, I love this.
Okay, go closer. All right. So I'm going to introduce you.
Okay.
This is Haley and
Hey,
Emma and Preston and Paisley.
Paisley. Oh, I love that. Well, I'm so happy to see you all. Now, do you guys know any Christmas songs?
Oh, yeah. Should we sing Jingle Bells?
Yeah.
Want to sing?
Jingle
I-
Okay. Ready?
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey! Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Yeah.
Yay! Oh,
I see they have Oxygen Plus bottles.
you recognize that, do you? Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing I
That's right.
saw.
Yep. Well, I tell you, I am so happy to see you guys.
Yep.
This is really, really fun. I'm so happy that we're all here together.
And you guys have a question you want to ask Santa?
Do you work with the elves when they make toys for you?
Well, I don't spend as much time in the workshop as I used to. They're pretty busy down there. And nowadays I have just a lot of other stuff to do. We have to practice with the sleigh, make sure everything's working on that. It's more kind of business stuff, really. But we fortunately we have good helpers down in the workshop. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys a question. Do you know what kind of animals we have up here?
Reindeers.
Reindeer, yeah.
Do you have penguins?
Well, penguins are mostly, we have some, but they're pet penguins, but most of the penguins actually live at the South Pole.
Okay.
Yep. But we do have a kind of bird. Do you know what kind of bird do we have up here?
The snowbird.
Well, kind of. Yeah, let me give you a clue a little bit. It says this. Ooh.
Owl.
Snowy owl, right? You guys are smart. I like
I
that.
think she has a
Very
question.
cool.
She has
Very
a
cool.
question.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yes,
I
you do.
can't remember it.
I'll
You
tell
can't
her.
remember
I'll
it?
tell it for her.
Okay.
It's she asked, when you go into your sleigh, do you need a blanket or not?
Well, the clothes are pretty. Oh, you know what? In fact, I have my hat right here. Like when I'm on the sleigh, I put the hat on, and then of course I have my coat and everything on, and so it keeps me pretty warm. So I don't usually wear. I have a blanket in the sleigh, but I don't use it most of the time.
I'm just wondering, Santa, is that a cashmere lined top, the fur of the hat? Is that cashmere or wool? Like, or what
It's
kind
actually
of
wool.
wool?
This is wool, yes,
Not
Yeah.
cashmere.
not cashmere.
Might- Does
What?
Mrs. Claus wear cashmere?
She does, and actually, I think we have a cashmere hat over here too. Whoa, downwind and oxygen plus. That's why we have two. You always have a backup plan. Okay. Yes. But so we have a lot of stuff to keep us warm. When you live in a cold area, you have stuff to keep you warm, of course.
That's what we do in Minnesota.
Yep, exactly.
When you sleep, do you need 100 blankets on because it's very cold at night?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you good.
When you sleep, do you need 100 blankets on?
No, we can stay pretty warm in our home and in the workshops and everywhere because we have a lot of heat up here too. We like you guys, we have heaters, so we could keep pretty toasty. But we do have nice blankets too. Sometimes I just like to have nice blankets on, and like if we go outside, I don't know if you know this or not, but up here we have what they call the Aurora Borealis or the Northern Lights.
I've
And they're
heard
up
of
in our
that.
sky and they're green and different colors at different times. Sometimes they're red. And we like to go out and watch those and just watch them in the sky. And then we'll be bundled up and take out a blanket. And Mrs. Claus, you know Mrs. Claus, right? My wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we go out there and we watch the lights and visit for a little bit and talk about things, we like to talk about the children like you guys and how good you're doing, how proud we are to see you guys doing so good, being so kind and thoughtful. And so many of you, like you guys, you're like Santa's helpers. Like when you have old toys that you kind of they're not worn out, they're not like broken or bad, but you just outgrow them. What do you do with them? You donate them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, you're Santa's helpers, just like that. You're a giver. See, and I love that. That's why we're so proud of you because you're doing that. So keep up the good work, okay? Okay.
I have a question. How do you get in the house without letting the alarm get on?
Yeah, right. That's a little bit of the Santa magic, and in fact, I have our magic key right back here. I know that this doesn't look like your house key, but this is the magic kind of key that I can use to get in all the doors and turns off all the alarms. So, I don't know what we would do if it weren't for the magic, right? And it just really helps us do a lot of things that would otherwise be impossible. Even like delivering all those presents in one night. I tell people all the time, they ask me, say, well, what is it like to deliver all those presents in one night? And I tell them, for me, it's almost like a dream. I like on Christmas morning after I did my deliveries, and I take a nap when I get home. And then when I wake up, it's like, did I really do that? It seems like it was just like a dream or something, but I don't even remember like every detail of it, but I just know all the presents are there and I'm back home. So
I can tell you
good.
something. I can do magic as I'm gonna imagine something.
You can do magic, huh?
Some holes.
Yeah.
Well, we might have future Santas in our midst.
I like that idea. That's good. Yeah, a little bit of magic is helpful. That's
All right. Everyone wish Santa a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, you guys.
Santa Claus, Can you tell people where they can find you? Not the real you in the North Pole. We have to keep that secret, but just where they can find Santa Ed or that Santa guy.
Well, santaed.com will work. ThatSantaGuy.com will work. They'll both take you there. ZoomSanta.com will work. It's kind of like Santa. You have to be a little ubiquitous, right? All over the place at the same time, multi-location. So yeah, santaed.com or zoomsanta.com or thatsantaguy.com. Come visit. And hope we can visit with some of your listeners.
We would love that.
Yeah,
We would love
great.
that.
Awesome.
Well, I
Thank
hope
you.
our listeners share or our viewers go look and see and sign up and find you and share this with their family like we had with some of our family today.
Yeah.
And Santa, Merry Christmas to you and to all. Anybody?
A good night.
A good night.
A good night.
Go rate and review We're Not Blowing Hot Air so more people are aware of wellness and business stuff that deserves more oxygen. And subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an exciting episode.
Thanks for listening. But before we go, check out this episode's featured artist, singer-songwriter Stacy Blue with her song Christmas Star.